pleasant good evening to one and all. This evening, I'm here by St. Andrew. Yeah, I'm here by St. Andrew Parish Church here in Barbados. St. Andrew Parish Church, which is at Belle Plaine in St. Andrew. Out here it's either Belle Plaine or Walkers. Anyhow, this is St. Andrew Parish Church once again, which was established in 1639, but it was rebuilt in 1846. So yes, guys, here by St. Andrew Parish Church. This evening, here by St. Andrew Parish Church, doing my videos this evening. Looking towards this road here will be back to Belle Plaine in St. Andrew, and then will take you back to the Allen School. This road will take you back to Hillaby via Borden and Rock Hall and Turner's Hall in St. Andrew. I'm in the beautiful parish of St. Andrew this evening, which is to the east of the island. It's also referred to as the Scotland District. St. Andrew is known as the Scotland District of Barbados. Because it resembles the Scotland countryside. St. Andrew bears some resemblance to the Scotland countryside. It is the parish in Barbados that carries the most hills as well. St. Andrew and St. Joseph are the two parishes in Barbados that are best referred to as the Scotland District. And they are referred to as the Scotland District because of their resemblance to the Scotland countryside. And they are the parishes in Barbados that carry the most hills as well. St. Andrew and St. Joseph to the eastern side of the island, and they are referred to as the Scotland District. As I said before, this will take you back to Belle Plaine in St. Andrew with the Allen School, the Allen Secondary School, which is one of Barbados' top and older secondary schools. The Allen School is at Belle Plaine in St. Andrew. So I was now made my way through the church yard of St. Andrew's Parish Church. So this is the church here, another historic church here in Barbados. Another historic church. You can see all up in the hills of St. Andrew from here as well. So this is the roundabout outside of the church. Yeah. So this road here, before you're going, this road will take you back to Shorey Village, St. Andrew, Shorey Village, via Morgan Lewis Windmill. Morgan Lewis, which is the oldest windmill in Barbados and in the world. It will take you back to the parish of St. Peter as well, to the north of the island. So this road, as I said before, will take you back to St. Peter, which is to the north of the island, with Farley Hill National Park, and it will take you back to Mile and a Quarter and Spikestown, All Saints and Pleasant Hall, all in St. Peter. And it will take you back to St. Andrew with Shorey Village and the Morgan Lewis Windmill and the Greenland Landfill. So this is all the Scotland countryside here in Barbados. Area known as the Scotland District of Barbados. will now take my way, make my walk to the church. I will now take my walk to the church. I'll show you guys inside of the church. Well, not inside the church, but take you guys to the, take you guys to the churchyard. Now to go through to the churchyard. As I said before, St. Andrew's Parish Church was established in 1639 originally. The original church was in such a bad state of disrepair that it had to be torn down and rebuilt in 1846. This is the grave of long-standing priest, the Reverend Canon Edward Godson Gatherer, who was a priest here from July 1st, 1957 to March 2011. Edward Godson Gatherer was born in St. Vincent originally, but he was a priest here in Barbados. He was born the 28th of January 1922 and died the 6th of February 2019. So you can see the hills of St. Andrew. By the way, St. Andrew carries Barbados' highest point, which is Mount Hillaby, 1,116 feet. Mount Hillaby is over to this side here. You can see Mount Hillaby from here. Barbados' highest point, 1,116 feet. This is that Gatherer was a good man. He was full of the Holy Spirit and faith. Acts 11:24. So Gatherer's ground burial space is right here. Gatherer was a long-standing priest. He was the priest here. Another brief history about Gatherer before I go any further. When it was time for him to retire in 1987, around there, in the late 80s, when he was supposed to be retiring, he put the government in court and he won the case. He put the diocese in court, so that he could remain as the priest of St. Andrew Parish Church. That was in the late 80s, and he won the case, and he was the priest there until he couldn't be anymore. He couldn't be the priest here anymore, and then a guy named Reverend Alan Jones took over. Well, the current incumbent here now, I won't call him the rector, I will call him the priest in charge, is Reverend Curtis Goodrich, who is a relative of mine. He was also the priest at St. Lucy Parish Church for many years, 40 years, 1984 to 2024. Curtis Goodrich was at St. Lucy Parish Church. He is a relative of mine. He is in charge here now for the time being. So this is the church cemetery. So St. Andrew Parish Church is an Anglican church. It is one of the historic churches in Barbados. So this is the grave site here. You can see water is in this grave site. Today is a rainy day. The rain fell a lot today. Hence the reason why water is a lot on a lot of these graves. The grave of the Bancroft family, John E. Bancroft, Rosalie Bancroft, and grandparents Joseph Redmond and Theresa Redmond. The Rickinson family grave here. So from all here, you can see all up in the hills of St. Andrew. As I said before, St. Andrew carries Barbados' highest point, which is Mount Hillaby. Mount Hillaby is 1,116 feet. It borders St. Thomas and St. Andrew. It is also a part of the Scotland district. From here, you can see all up in the hills of Babylon, all up back into lakes, and all into Chalky Mount St. Andrew, you can see from here. This is the grave here of the Shorey family. I guess this is how the name Shorey Village across here. Shorey Village came about. The grave of Calvin Adolphus Shorey, born in the 11th of March 1906 and died the 4th of November 1976. A mother, Delcina Ayanthi Gertrude Shorey, born the 19th of June 1911 and died the 28th of January 1988. And daughter Catherine Claudette Hunt Blanchett, born the 29th of August 1942 and died the 3rd of June 2020. The grave of Egbert Lawrence Bannister, Muriel Madeline Bannister, Patricia Yvonne Lawrence Bannister, Lawrence Blair Bannister, and Joyce Eldelia Bannister. St. Andrews is a historic church. Most other Anglican churches in Barbados. The grave of Lindsay Worrell, born the 27th of June 1929 and died the 21st of February 2013, and loving husband of Enid Worrell, loving father, grandfather, and brother, who will be truly missed. So this is all the churchyard. A couple months ago there was an incident. I don't think it was an incident, or it was a coincidence, when a gravedigger died shortly after putting down a duppy, as you would say, a dead person. He is dead and buried now. He died, he was a gravedigger for St. Andrew Parish Church, and he died shortly after he put down a loved one. So I can imagine how tragic that would be for the family after put down somebody and finish a funeral, and you have to you have to witness someone died during the funeral. The grave I wanted to show you, the grave of Sir Conrad Hunt, Knight of St. Andrew and West Indies cricketer. Conrad Hunt was a West Indian cricketer from St. Andrew. Sir Conrad Hunt, born 1932 and died in 1999. And in loving memory of our parents, Conrad B. Hunt, this should be Conrad Hunt's father, born 1901 and died in 1976, and Ethelene Hunt, born 1912 and died in 2002. The grave of Hugh Hunt, which should be his brothers, and O. Carlisle Hunt, and Ivan Hunt, his brothers, his siblings. So, Conrad Hunt was a West Indian cricketer back in the day. So this is his family grave here. So I'm to the east of the island, as I said before. I'm to the east of the island in the parish of St. Andrew. I have to be careful before I slip here. I almost slipped there just now. Good thing I have this bag on my back. Bannister grave. So all St. Andrew Parish Churchyard here. Coming out from the entrance, the exit. The Brewster grave here. Water surface here. Today's a rainy day, as I said before. Today is a rainy day. So all back up in the hills of St. Andrew, you can see from here. As I said before, this road will take you back to the parish of St. Peter via St. Andrew. This road will take you back to Shorey Village, St. Andrew. And Morgan Lewis Windmill is also in St. Andrew, which is the turning point, which is the Morgan Lewis Windmill is the oldest windmill in Barbados and in the Caribbean and in the world. And the only working windmill in Barbados, in the Caribbean and in the world, which is open for grinding cane during cane harvesting time. Morgan Lewis Windmill dates back to 1747. Right around the corner here, up the hill in St. Andrew, which will take you back to, this way will take you back to Magnet Hill, which is known as Cherry Tree Hill, which borders St. Andrew and St. Peter. Cherry Tree Hill is called Magnet Hill because when the cars go up, it is a force, a magnetic force that just bring them back down, especially when they stop. So that is why some people refer to it as the Magnet Hill. There's people passing the street when they pass me taping and looking at me hard, but I don't care who look at me. That is the truth. I'm doing a video of St. Andrew's Church area. I know what I'm doing, and God knows what I'm doing, and I know that my viewers know what I'm doing. So when people look at me, or they curse me, or they tell me anything, that doesn't matter to me. I put God first in everything that I do. I'm not going to let anyone stop me because of their beliefs or their feelings about what I'm doing. All the hills of the Scotland countryside. So this is the Scotland countryside here in Barbados. And they look at me, I look back at them too. Don't care at all. This is a public place and this is Barbados. It is not against the law to take videos or pictures here in Barbados. So I don't have to care about who looks at me or what people think about me when they see me taping or anything like that. Or back to St. Andrew's Parish Church again. Back up in the hills. Barbados is not a mountainous country, but I'm sure that if you traverse along this side of Barbados, you will be treated to semi-mountains, not full mountains, but the high points in Barbados are in St. Andrew. St. Andrew is a parish that is referred to by many Barbadians as behind God's back because of how it is located. To get into the parish of St. Andrew, no matter where you're coming from, whether you're coming from St. Thomas, St. Peter, St. James, St. Joseph, you have to go down a hill to get into St. Andrew. And to come out of St. Andrew, you have to come up a hill. These hills in St. Andrew are not these little slopes. These are very steep hills up in here in St. Andrew. Very steep hills up in St. Andrew here. These hills here are very, very steep. Almost the whole of St. Andrew was built on a hill. Let me put it that way. So I don't really care about who look at me or how they feel or nothing so. This is a public country, a free country. St. Andrew Parish Church. I'm not recording anybody, so I don't really care. Understand? Back at the roundabout again where I started from, back to square one. Have a blessed evening, guys. Thanks for watching.